So we completed section 3.2. It was about the measures of variation. And today we will be doing section 3.3, measures of relative standing and box plot. Have you all completed lab 2? Right? Lab 3? Not it? Okay. So in lab 2, you must have plotted parallel box plot, right? So we will be learning about that. In lab 3, you will be asked to obtain summary statistics. Those will be mean, median, CV, variance, which we studied in the last class. And in addition to that, you will have to obtain 5 number statistics, and we will be learning about that in this class. Okay? Section 3.3, measures of relative standing and box plots. Parallel box plot. Okay? So in this section, we'll learn about the relative standing, which is nothing but the numbers which will show the location of the data values in the data set. Okay? If I have a data set like this, 4, 5, 6. Now, what is the location of number 4? 1, 2, 3. Right? It is in third place. So that is my location. That is the location for the fourth value in the data set. So likewise, we will have to obtain location values for other data values. So to do that, we have z-score, percentiles, quartiles, and a box plot. So we can measure the location of a data value using all these measures. And this is important. Z-score. You will definitely have one question in your test 1 on this. Okay? Z-score is also called as standard score or standardized value. Now, this is the formula to obtain the Z-score. X minus X bar divided by S. What is X bar? Mean of? Yes, right. This is the mean of sample. This is nothing but mean of population. And what is S? Yes. What is S? Yeah, this is standard deviation. Okay, so z-score is calculated using this formula, which is nothing but the difference of a data value with the mean divided by a standard deviation. Okay, now let us see about the properties. This is nothing but the number of standard deviation that a given value x is above or below the mean. So it will denote whether the value is below or above the mean. Now, you know that we studied about this rule, empirical rule, right? And also we studied about range rule of thumb, right? So in that we came across this part, x minus 2 sigma, x plus 2 sigma, right? And this number 2 is nothing but your standard deviation, and the value which denotes that with a sign is called as z-score. Okay, so z-score, the range of z-score is from minus 2 to positive 2, and it includes minus 2 and also negative 2. Okay, it is like this. z-score is less than or equal to +2, greater than or equal to -2. So the range of z-score is between -2 to +2. Yes. Okay. Now, let us calculate the z-score of this example 1. So we have two sub-questions. In first sub-question, they are giving the weight of a newborn baby which is 4,000 grams, and mean is nothing but 3152 grams, and standard deviation, which is denoted by S, is 693.4. Now what is this 4,000 grams? That is nothing but your data value, one of the data value. Okay, x is the data value, x bar is the mean, S is the standard deviation. How do we compute z-score? What is the formula? X minus x bar divided by small s, right? So x is 4,000 minus 3152, that is the mean, and standard deviation is given by 693.4, equal to tell me the z-score for both the examples. Yes. So always, at least you must have 2 decimal places for z-score. Okay, at least 2. So for example, if you have a value like 1.5 and 2.5785, something like that, then your z-score would be 2.5785, right? You must have at least 2 decimal places. What is the z-score for the second example? 1.29. When it comes to standard deviation, variance, z-score, do not round off. Okay? Okay. Now, usual and unusual values, we had studied this in the range rule of thumb, right? So it is just repeating. Now, as I said you, this -2 and +2 is called as z-score. And anything between that range is called as usual values, or also called as ordinary values, right? This is also called as usual values or ordinary values. Anything below that and above that range is called as unusual values. Okay. Now, if I have a value something like -3.2, that lies below -2. So I call that as unusual low value. Okay. So ordinary values or usual values, the range will be between -2 to +2, whereas for unusual values, the range will be greater than +2 and less than -2. So they are saying that suppose if I have a value, now this is nothing but your mean. Okay, the mid value of the z-score range is nothing but your mean. So if you have a value less than the value of a mean, then the resulting z-score will always be negative. Okay, for example, let me say that the mean is 3 here, 2 is the another data value, and this is 1. Okay, this is the data value. Now if I ask you what is the z-score of second data value, whether it is positive or negative, the answer should be negative because it is less than mean. Okay, if there is any value less than mean, the z-score would be negative. Okay. Now we have another example where we are supposed to say whether the value is unusual or usual. Okay. Now what is x bar and s in this example? X bar is standard deviation. So what would be the z-score? So the z-score is negative. And what is the range of z-score? It is between -2 to +2. So anything between this is called as usual or ordinary. Any values above that range or below that range is called as unusual. Now this z-score is usual or unusual. This I will take it as -1. So z-score of -1.87 is next is percentiles. So this is another way to measure the location of data in a percentile, in a percentage. Okay. So let's see how to do that. This is the formula. You have two formulas for percentile. One is find the percentile of a data value. So if you have a given data value and if they are asking you what is the percentile of that data value in the data set, then you must use this formula. If you have a given data value, this is the formula to be used. If you have a percentile given, and you're supposed to calculate or compute the data value, then this is the formula. Do not worry about this. This is the main formula to be used. Now, what is K? K is nothing but the percentile number. For example, if I have the P is percentile. So if I ask you what is the 25th percentile in a data set, then this 25 is nothing but your K. Okay? K is nothing but 25 in this example. What is N? Total number of sample data values. And capital L is nothing but the data value you are supposed to calculate. which is a whole number or an integer. Okay. So we have an example where we are supposed to calculate, there are two numbers given, 123 and 250. We are supposed to calculate the percentile of these numbers, and we have percentile given and we are supposed to calculate the data value. Okay. To calculate a percentile, the formula is which is equal to data value divided by total number of values. Okay, now the percentile will be given by is equal to into 100 x position. It is not a value, it is a position. Okay. Now 123 belongs to which position? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th value is 123 and 250 would be 30th value. So whenever you are asked to find out the percentile of a given data set, the position must be less than that. So if we have the position of this is 15th, then you must consider the position less than that. Okay, that would be 14th position. Less than the value. The position must be less than the value. So it is the 14th position divided by total number of samples equal to 40. So total number of sample is 40 into 100. Equal to 35. So the data value 123 is in 35th percentile. So among this 100, if this is the 100%, the 35th percentage is your data value 123. Now, likewise, calculate for 250. Percentile equal to, what would be the position for 250? 29, because actual position is 30, but you have to take less than that. So it would be 29, right? So 29 divided by number of samples. What is the total number of samples? 40 into 100. That would be this. You can round it off to 73. And 250 is nothing but the 73rd percentile. Okay, this is how you have to calculate the percentile if a data value is given. You have to note down the position, take a value less than that, divided by total number of samples multiplied by 100. Now, when you have a percentile given and if you want to compute a data value, what is the formula? Capital L equal to A by 100 into n. Okay, so that capital L is nothing but your data value which you are supposed to find. K is the percentile So in P31, what is the value of K? P31 is nothing but P with a sub K. So your value of K would be 31. So here it is 31 by 100 into total number of samples is 40. Tell me the data. 12.4. Okay. Now let us calculate for P25. It would be 25 divided by 100 into 40, which is equal to 2. Now go back to data set. And if you check, you do not have these data values in the given box, right? Why? Because these are the position values of a data value. So it tells you in which position you will find that value. It will not give you the exact value of the data set. It will tell you in which position you can find the data value. Now this position is nothing but 12.4. Round it off to the nearest whole number. That would be 13. Now this is already a whole number, so I'll keep it as 10th position. Thirteenth position. Okay. Now, what is the data value in the 13th position and 10th position? What is the value in the 10th position and in the 13th position? 86 and 112. How did we find? Just calculate the data set position values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the 10th position. So the data value is 86. Okay. Now this is 11, 12, 13, 14. And we need 13th position and the data value is 112. So the data value for this would be 112 and 10th position is 86. Okay. So if you have a data value given and if you want to find the percentile, you have to first calculate the position of the data value. And then less than that, take a number less than that, divide by number of samples into 100 will give you the percentile value. If you have a percentile given and if you want to compute the data value, then take the percentile value, which is k, divided by total number of divided by 100 into total number of samples will give you the position of the data value, and go back to the data set, find the data value in that position. That would be your answer. Okay. Moving on to quartiles. So quartiles are also used to measure the location of a data set, and we have 3 quartiles. So that is Q1, Q2 and Q3. Q1, Q2 and Q3. So what does this denote? Qn is nothing but your first quartile and denoted by the 25th percentile, P25. Q2 is second quartile denoted by P50, 50th percentile, which is the median. When I say you have 100% data value and the 50th position or 50th percentile would be your median, the middle value, right? So P50, which is Q2 second quartile, also called as median. Next you have Q3 and the percentile would be 75. Now how do we get all these data? Now remember, you have a data set like this. Okay, you have a data set like this. This is your starting value, which is minimum. This is your maximum value, and the middle value we call it as median. This is the middle value, or also called as median, also called as Q3, which is the 50th percentile. Okay, now I have from 0 to 100. When I say median, it is 50th percentage, right? So this is 50%. The starting percentage would be, take a median between 0 to 50. That would give you 25 percentage. Median from 50 to 100. That would give you 75%. Now these three values are called your Q1, Q2 and Q3. Okay, which is nothing but P25, P50 and P75. Let us move on to box plot. So if you have completed lab 2. So in that you did plot box plot which look like this in a vertical way. You had a box and you had a value here, right? This you did in the GM. Let me find it. Analyze. Plot. And this is your box plot. This is what you did in your lab 2, right? Parallel box plot. So here, if I can draw. So here, so here, if you can see, this is called your parallel box plot. Parallel box plot. So this first line, the first line is your minimum and the last line is your maximum. Now this is like 100%. So the middle value will be your median, right? Now this is nothing but the first 25%, also called as Q1, the middle value Q3, this is Q2, and this is your maximum value. So the percentile will be, so from, if you're going from mean, minimum, so this is 25%, this is definitely 50 because it's a middle value, and next what you get is 75%. You have to calculate from here. If you calculate from maximum, this would be 25, 50 and 7 reverse. If you are going from minimum, the first half would be 25 and from there it will be 50 and then 75. Add 25 to those values, you'll get P25, P50 and P75 denoted by Q1, Q2 and Q3. So that's your first quartile, second quartile and third quartile. Okay. It is just a representation. Oh, thank you. This is Q2 and Q3. Thank you. Q1, Q2 and Q3. Okay. So that's your 3 quartils, and you can easily identify it using a parallel box plot. Okay. Now, so the minimum first quartile, second quartile, third quartile and maximum, which we learned just now, together called as pi number summary. Pi number summary. Okay. Now, when you go back to your GMP, so this is your what? What type of graph is this? Histogram, right? So this is the histogram. Now you knew that you did compute about the mean, median, mode, CV, variance, right? Now, where do you find that? You will find that here in the summary statistics. Okay? Just you will learn this in your maximum. So this is your summary statistics, which gives you mean, median, mode, CV, variance, standard deviation. Okay. Now, the column next to that is your quantiles, which will give you the pi number statistics, right? It is 100. The maximum value is 77 from the histogram here, which is nothing but your 100%. That's your maximum value. Minimum is the ground level 0%. 0%, 100%. The middle value is your median, which is 50%. Right? 50% median. And the value in that 50% is 65. So all these values, the data values here, are taken from the subset of small town. Now, we know that GMP can do for any number of data sets. It could be 100, it could be 1000, it could be 10,000. Now, we did suggest you to make a subset of small town. Why? We know that it can do for the entire population, but still we did a subset. That's because let me show you the STEM-MD. So this is your STEM-MD, right? Just concentrate on the number here. This number, it is little long, right? When you take a sample, I mean the whole population, the numbers would be very large, very huge. So the stem and leaf would be very long, very lengthy. So now the objective of learning GMP is to know how it works and to know what and all we can do there. So when you can do for subset, you can definitely do for the entire population, right? So when you're starting from a 0th level, then you have to do from a subset. That's why we insisted you to do a subset instead of the entire population. If you do for the entire population, the graph would be very lengthy and you would get confused, right? And that's why we did the subset. Now coming back here, Above the histogram, you can see there is a plot. That is nothing but your parallel box plot. So this is minimum, this is maximum. The middle value is your median, which is nothing but 65. See, the middle value is 65, and you can also see in the table it is 65. Let's concentrate on this. So this is nothing but your box plot. This is nothing but your box plot. If you can observe very clearly, this is your median. According to the quartiles, this is your median. This is the maximum value, minimum value, and this is your Q1, the first quartile, and this is your Q3, the third quartile, right? So what is the value of minimum? That would be here, which is 58 according to this data. Okay, now we have histogram, we have parallel box plot, but still we have the quantiles here. Why? Because you cannot, as you can see here, if I see what is the minimum of this, it is less than 60. But what is the exact value of that? That would be given by this column, okay, by the quantiles. Now median, I can easily draw a line and find out that it is 65. So according to the tabular here, it is also 65. Maximum value is definitely greater than 75, but I do not know the exact value. So the exact value is here, which is 77. And next is your first quartile and third quartile. Okay, so that is here. This is your first 25%, 25%, 75%, which is Q3, and this is your third quartile. So this is the use of histogram, quartiles, and summary statistics. Got it? Let's get back to. Now, how can you construct a box plot? We can do that easily by GMP, but if you do not have GMP, how can we do that? By hand. So first is you need to find the pi number summary, which is maximum, minimum, Q1, Q2, and Q3, all these pi values. And then you are going to draw a line segment, and then you are going to mention the minimum value and the maximum value. And then you will draw a line from Q1 to Q3 and then denote a median. Let's see this with an example. So these are just the examples of a box plot. How can it look like? For example, if you have a histogram with uniform distribution, so uniform distribution denotes what? When will you get a uniform distribution? There is no variation in the graph. It is uniform. When can you see this type of a graph? When your data values are equal, right? When the frequency of your data values are equal, you will get a uniform distribution. There is no variation in the graph. Now for a uniform distribution, this is how the parallel box plot look like. Okay, and this is for symmetric. When you have one highest frequency, then this is the parallel box. That is for skewed left. Now this is maximum, this is minimum, maximum, median, Q3 and Q1, right? This is Q2. What is this? What are those two dots? Any idea? Exactly, it's called as outlier. This is also an outlier. So as you can see, the parallel box plot easily denotes the outliers. You do not have to look through the data set and find the outlier. Just plot a parallel box plot. It will give you where the outlier is. And this type of graph or the plot is called modified parallel box plot. Okay, and these are another set of box plots. You can take a look at that. Next is outliers. Now, as I said you, parallel box plot can find the outlier, but how can that do it? How can a parallel box plot do that? How can it find outlier? Now we have a formula for that, which is 1.5 into the product of 1.5 and IQR. What is this IQR? It is nothing but interquartile range. Interquartile range. Okay. Now you know what is the definition of outlier, right? It is just the value which lies far away from the other data set, extreme values. Now how can we find that? We can find that by using this formula. So let us go to example number 4. First is we need to find what is the 5-number summary, which is maximum, minimum, Q3, Q2 and Q1. What is the maximum value in this data set? 49. Minimum is 19. Median would be calculate. Q3 is nothing but the P75. Q1 is nothing but the 25th percentile. Now I am telling you that we have a data value in this 75th percentile and P25, which is 25th percentile. How will you find the data value? How? Go back to the percentile formula. You have a percentile given, find out the position, and then you will get the data value. Okay? So find all these values. Find all the 5-number statistics, and we will continue this on Monday. I am planning to do a test 1 review on Monday also, but let's see. So that's your section 3.3. We have just one problem left, and we would be completing this on Monday.